Hello friends, this is Durga again from ITversity. As part of CCA, Spark and Hadoop developer, at this time I'm talking about load data from HDFS and storing results back to HDFS using Spark. So far I have covered how to read the text files and store the text files into HDFS. In this video I will try to cover the other file formats, starting with sequence file format. So before getting into writing into a sequence file format and reading a sequence file format, first you need to understand what is a sequence file format is. So when we actually say sc.text file or save as text file, what Spark will do is it will read each line as record while reading or writing. And then you have to, if you want to process the data, you have to apply transformations on each line as a record, and you have to do the transformations. But some cases, in some data sets, each line need not represent a record. Instead, it might make more sense if the data is divided into key value pairs, and it can have any type of characters in that, and the file format will also have the metadata of each and every record for each key and value of it. That's what sequence file is. It will maintain the metadata of key and value, so the structure of record will be metadata driven rather than considering each line as record. So going back to code, this is how you can actually save as sequence file. First we will try to save as sequence file, because if you have to read the sequence file, first you have to write a sequence file, because it has to build the metadata for your key and values of each and every record. Once it build the metadata, then only will be able to read. So even with respect to text file, if you want to read it as a text file, first you have to save it as a text file. Similar is the case with sequence file as well. And if you want to consider each line as one record, and if you don't want to divide into key value pairs, then you can use this syntax none-x, none for key, which is similar to null writable if you are from Hadoop background, and x is whatever the x is. It can be the line in this case. And also we are trying to apply a function called map on it. So the functions with respect to Spark are divided into transformations and actions. I will get into more details about transformations and actions as part of the next video, next topic, where we will talk about aggregations as well as joins. But here just remember that when you try to read the data, if you want to do some processing for each record, then you have to use map function. For example, let me first read as text file. So I am starting Pyspark. I have to give the absolute path, not just Pyspark. If I use Pyspark, it uses the original version of the Cloudera VM, which is 1.3.0. I want to go to specific version, which is 1.2.1. Hence I am in Spark 1 bin Hadoop directory, and from here I am giving the relative path to the relevant Pyspark, which uses 1.2.1 version, and hit enter. It will launch the Python based Spark command line interface where we can execute those scripts. Once it is launched, I will go step by step and try to decipher this command. So this is the Pyspark, and now I am running this command first, not this one, to read the data. And then you can run this command for line in data rd.collect to read each line the way it was in the file. So even if you run Hadoop ss-cat command, on that file, which is user Cloudera scoop import departments. And I have to give the file prefix also with pattern so that it can read multiple files under that location. You can see that the output of this Hadoop fs minus command and this for loop is same, because it is reading one line at a time and writing into the standard out because of the println statement. But if you want to do some transformations, the most basic way of doing the transformation is using the map command. In this case, we have to do the transformation so that we can actually save this data as sequence file. And then you also need to understand the Lambda functions when it comes to Python. Lambda function stands for anonymous function, wherein you can actually return the expression for a given function without naming the function. So in this case, it's a function, but there is no name associated with it. And each record will be passed as a parameter to this function, which is x, and then this is the transformation which is trying to apply. So that's what the Lambda function is. It's a function within the map function, but it's an anonymous function without any name, and it will be returning this expression num x in this case, and then tuple of x dot split in this case. So if you want to know more about Lambda functions, you can actually search for Python Lambda functions, and you can understand. And then you can apply save as sequence file, wherein each line will be saved as key value pairs along with the metadata internally. And when you actually save the data like this, it will be in the binary format. Typically, we will save it appropriate key and values rather than none. None is not typical when you try to use key sequence file format. Typically, we'll build it with key and values for each and every record. So in this case, we are applying a split function to define what is key and what is value. And if you look at this split function, let me demonstrate how it works. So in this case, each record will be split because of the split function, and it has two parameters. One is the delimiter, so comma is the delimiter for each and every record, and then one says that the value before the first comma will be considered as key, and rest of the line will be considered as value. For example, I am actually doing this string hello world, how are you. Okay, now string have that string hello world, how are you, which is comma separated, and then you can say string dot split, and if you just say comma and hit enter, you can see that it has built an array. In Python, arrays are represented with square brackets. So it has built an array because of the split command, and the array contains 5 strings, which can be validated by specifying 0 for hello, 1 for world, how for 2 for how, etc. So this one will generate the array, and to access a specific element, you can say 0, 1, 2, or 3, or 4 in this case. You can say C0 is giving hello and 1 is giving world. Okay. Instead of just specifying split, if you specify comma 1 and hit enter, then you can see that the array only have 2 values for this single string, which is str, and after split there are only two values in the array generated, and the first one is hello and second one is world, how are you. And if you do 2, you can see that the strings before uh, the second comma is splitted into 2 different values, and the third one is the rest of the string. Now if you say 0 will return hello, 1 will return world, and 2 will return how are you, and from 3 there will not be any values. So this is what split function is. In this case, what we are trying to do is we are taking the first column of our data set, which is department ID, as the key, and then rest of the thing is value. Similarly, if you try to do it for orders, and the way I have shown here, orders have 5 fields in that. So the first field will be the key, and rest of the 4 fields after the first comma is considered as value, and while saving it will generate metadata for each key and value and then save it into the sequence file. So this is how it works, and the map function will be applied for each and every record, and the logic in the map function is the lambda function, which is to split the data. So for each and every record in the department's data set, this logic will be applied. You can validate that by saying for I in, okay, I have copied only till the map function, and then I can say collect and then print of I and hit enter and hit enter. You can see that first string is key, second string is value. That's what is generated with the map function. Then we are trying to save it as sequence file. You can copy this thing and then run it. The file is already exists, so let's delete this one. Paste. It is deleted. Now let's run this command again, and the data is copied. And now let us validate. You can see there is one file with 225 bytes, and if you see the original version of departments, which is of type text format, the size is relatively lesser, because with text file format it need not maintain the metadata of keys and values. You can see that this is only 83 bytes, whereas the sequence file is 225 bytes. So this is how you can actually save into HDFS in a sequence file format, which is very important in the Hadoop world. Probably they might emphasize as part of the certification. So make sure you understand how to deal with sequence files while writing the data in as sequence file, and also while reading as sequence file. So now we will see how to read a sequence file. So this is how you can actually read the sequence file. You can just say data sc.sequence file and give the data is the variable. You can do this, data equal to sc.sequence file. As the keys and values are already generated, it will use the metadata of keys and values are generated. In some cases it can construct the record automatically. In some cases you might have to explicitly specify that, especially when it comes to Scala. You have to explicitly specify that. In Pyspark you don't need to explicitly specify that. So in this case I am running this command, data equal to sc.sequence file, to read the sequence files, and then the path of our sequence file, and hit enter. And now you can say for I in data.collect print of I and hit enter. You can see the data without any issues. If you have to specify the types, you have to specify relevant types. In this case, department ID is all integers, so you can read it as integers. So in this third command, where I am reading the same file, I have specified key type as org.apache.hadoop.io.interpretable and value type as org.apache.hadoop.io.text. You need to understand what this interpretable and what text is. If you want to know further, I would recommend you to go to my YouTube channel and go to a playlist about Hadoop MapReduce application development using Java, and in this you can see this video called key and value types, wherein I have covered the list of key value types and the relevance of writable and all those things. So probably they might have some direct questions in the certification, so it's better to understand what all typical Hadoop key value types are available, so that you can answer those questions. So this is how you can actually read the data using sequence file format. On top of text file and sequence file, there are many other types input output formats also in HDFS, and to read any HDFS input file or write into any HDFS input file format, write into any HDFS output file format, you can actually use this one. There is a function called save as new API Hadoop file. It takes 4 parameters. In the first one is the path. The second one is the file output format. If you are trying to save it, if you are trying to read it, then you have to. There is a counter function called new API Hadoop file. You can use that function to read the data also. I will try to update the code. I will not be demonstrating here, and then you can actually specify any valid Hadoop based output format here, and if it requires key class and value class, you have to specify those while saving it. So for if you use save as sequence file, if you are trying to read the text data, it can understand the data, and it will try to use text itself for both key and values by default. But in this case, if you want to explicitly mention while writing the data, you can actually use this approach also. Depending upon the data type of the key and value, you can play with the key class and value class also. So let me demonstrate this as well, just so that you can understand how you can use any output format, Hadoop output format, while saving the file. And also there is a counter function called new API Hadoop file to read any Hadoop based file input format. So first let me remove the directory, and then I will run this command and hit enter. Okay. Okay, I have to give the path also here. Because I pass the variable, not the string. So the first parameter is path, second parameter is the Hadoop output file format with fully qualified class name, arg.apache.hadoop.mapreduce.lib.output.sequence file output format is the class for sequence file, and then the key class and value class. Now I can save it. Okay, it should be key and then capital C class. Okay. Copy. So it seems that there is an issue. It could not interpret the data as interpretable because each line is read as a string unless you convert the data type of the key. It cannot read it as integer. So for that reason, here I have to use text itself as the key. But while reading, I can use as interpretable because as it reads in sequence file format, it will do the necessary conversion while reading the data. But while writing, as we are passing the lines which are strings by default, and unless we typecast, it will try to use it will be written as text only. So you have to use text itself for the key. Now copy paste and it will work. Okay, I have to delete even though it failed. It just created empty directory which is causing to fail. So I have deleted the directory and now I am running. Now it is successful. And now we can also validate again by running this command. In this case, even though while saving we mentioned key class as text and value class is also text, while reading we are trying to read it as interpretable and text, and still it will pass because department IDs are all numbers in the data set. Now I am running this for loop against the collection data, and it is returning the data without any issues. So this is how you can actually deal with sequence file. And in the next video I will be covering two formats in one video. One is reading the data from HDFS using Hive context, and the second one is to read the data from JSON file. I will try to cover both as part of the next video. That being said, I hope you are enjoying the content on my channel. If you like this video, please click on the like button. If you have any feedback, please use the comment section of the video. If you have any technical questions, please go to Stack Overflow and tag it properly. I will closely monitoring it and I will try to respond to those questions within the best of my knowledge. I also created two groups. One is Hadoop certifications, IT Varsity Hadoop certifications in LinkedIn, and also IT Varsity Apache Spark. If you want to follow Apache Spark and if you want to discuss with the fellow Spark professionals, you can be part of Apache Spark group. And if you want to discuss about certifications related to Hadoop, you can use Hadoop certifications group. And if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so. You will get to see a lot more content like this over time. Thank you. Bye.